What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and in today's video, I'm going to explain why I decided to sell my house instead of rent it. And keep in mind, that's coming from a guy that owns over 160 rentals. So I got a lot of crap of people saying, Chandler, why not just rent it? And in this video, I'm gonna share with you the process I went through to determine why it was a much better decision to sell my home instead of list it for rent. So with all of that being said, let's jump into it. All right, guys, if you're new to the channel, I've been investing in real estate for the last 9+ years. I currently own 162 units of residential real estate. I also own over 160 storage units, and I've got like 16 or 20 units under contract right now to purchase as rental properties. However, if you follow the channel, you know that I just listed the house I've been living in for sale. Now, I've done this for a couple reasons. The first reason being that I am building my dream home and it's time to move from our current residence into our dream home. So a couple weeks ago, I listed the house we're now living in for $900,000. And when I listed this home for sale and put the video out there to show you guys, I had a lot of people saying, Chandler, why on earth are you selling this? Why not just turn it into a rental? And so in this video, I'm gonna go through my step-by-step process of determining why it would be a much better decision to sell my home than rent it. The other thing I'm going to do is make a shameless plug for you to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell. And if you're interested in purchasing a home, check out my other video where I walk you through the home, because here's the deal. I am no realtor, and I listed this home for sale by owner at $900,000, and we have already dropped the price all the way down to $815,000, and we're gonna continue to drop it until we get it sold. So if you're interested in purchasing a home here in Idaho with an incredible view, you can go check out this link up above, and I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of flack for not using a realtor, and we'll see. I might end up using a realtor. This is a question I actually get a lot because tons of people get to the place where they've got enough money to buy their dream home, they're living in a current home, and they don't own any rental properties. They own a couple, and they come and they're like, Chandler, should I just use this as a rental? Now, before we get into that process, you need to understand a little bit of the backstory. This home that I'm currently living in, I purchased for $420,000 about 5 years ago. So I've not owned it for super long, and I got an extraordinary deal on it because I purchased it with a low interest rate and at what I would consider an extremely low cost for what they're worth now. After looking at it, I think I listed it way too high, but you know, when you live in something, you've got this personal connection and you think it's worth everything. It was probably a mistake on my part, and I'm gonna get even more flack for not using a realtor and doing a proper analysis before listing it, but it is what it is. Now to jump into my analysis of why I determined to sell it instead of rent it. And the first thing you need to understand is there are different facets of this decision, and one facet we have to talk about first is the tax side of things. So let's read this rule about taxes that should drastically impact your decision when selling a home that you've lived in for a couple years. Home sales profits are considered capital gains, taxed at federal rates of 0%, 15%, or 20%. In 2021, depending on income, the IRS offers a write-off for homeowners, allowing single filers to exclude up to $250,000 of profit, and married couples filing together can subtract up to $500,000. And you don't have to pay taxes on that profit. Now, if you're just flipping a property, you can't do this because it doesn't go over the time frame that's required for you to be able to take advantage of it. But for me, since I've lived in this home for a considerable amount of time, this plays a huge role in my decision making because I purchased my home for $420,000. And so if I go and I sell it for even $800,000, you do the math on it, 400, 500, 600, 700, I'm just shy of $400,000 in profit. And I could take that money from the property, that equity, completely tax-free. I don't have to 1031 exchange it. I don't have to jump through any other loopholes. Just because I lived in my personal residence and now I'm selling it, I can take that money and I can put it anywhere that I want to. And I personally want to put that money into my landscape on my new home because again, it's tax-free money. And the game that I play with buying rental properties a lot of times has to do with how taxes are going to pan out. That's why I do cost segregation. That's why I accelerate the depreciation on my properties so that I can avoid or defer paying taxes. And this literally is one of the best ways to avoid paying taxes on massive profits that I've gotten through my property. So if I were to rent this property, I wouldn't get any liquid money that I'd have access to. But if I sell this, I could get an additional $400,000 or essentially way more because I have a down payment in this house as well. So I'm looking at close to $500,000 that I can take out of this property, not pay any taxes on it, and be able to put it into my landscape or my new home or a new car or whatever I want. And that is a huge upside where if I was to use this as a rental, you don't have any money that you're gonna get access to. You're just gonna get whatever cash flow you get after continuing to pay your mortgage and any expenses that come with placing this as a rental. So we're still gonna run you through the numbers, but right off the bat, you've gotta compare, all right, $400,000 plus of tax-free equity I can take out of this without paying an interest rate on it because I'm not refinancing, without doing a 1031 exchange, without jumping through any loopholes. This is just money that are essentially profits that I'm not gonna have to pay any tax on compared to not getting any of that. So that right there made this decision very easy for me because I'm usually in the highest tax bracket. So I would have to pay a lot of tax had this been money from anywhere else, and being able to avoid that by selling my home is a huge upside. For me, is this even a decision now? Not really. It's a very easy decision because of this tax-free money. However, I know there are lots of you out there that clicked on this video wanting to know how you could analyze your own home to determine if it would be a good decision for you to use it as rental or not. And so I'm gonna run you through the numbers that I would look at. But if you're in a similar situation to me and you could use that money somewhere else, like another rental property or your home or car or something else, maybe it makes a lot more sense for you to sell it as well, purely because of the tax side of things. But now that we've covered that, let's show you how I would run the numbers on this as a rental property to determine how good of a rental property it would actually be. The first thing you're gonna do is hop onto the App Store and download the CDS rental calculator. This is a calculator I developed to help you run the numbers on literally any rental property. All you're going to do is search CDS rental calculator. CDS rental calculator, it pops right up. And there you have it. Now mine's already downloaded, so I'm just gonna open it and we're gonna get right into it. First things first, this property I purchased for $420,000. Now keep in mind, I put down 25% on this property, which is kind of a weird thing to do on your personal residence if you can avoid it. I had the money, and at the time, this was back in, I don't know, around 2018. Yeah, around 2018-ish when rates were a little bit higher. So I did have this at a substantially higher interest rate. It wasn't 5.5%, which is what we're looking at now, but it was 4.5%. Closing costs 1.5, 30 years to pay off. And for this particular property, if you were to use it as a vacation rental, you could do a lot better on your numbers. And for a lot of people, this is going to be your best bet for renting a property that you've lived in, because a lot of times rents don't pan out if you're living in a nice house. Now, in some areas it can, but I've come to find for single family homes, if you're living in a nice house, you don't get enough back in rents to make it make sense, because rents kind of cap out. What I mean by that is, like, this home in particular, maybe it could rent for $2,400, but that's not going to be enough to even cover my mortgage. If I were to use it as a vacation rental, it could probably get a lot more because you're renting it by the night or by the weekend and people are willing to pay a premium. Where renting it, people are gonna say, hey, I'll just go buy a house, or there's something else that's comparable size, and the market kind of taps out in the rental market for a bigger home with 6 bedrooms. It could depend on your market, but for me, that's what I've come to find. And that's another reason that renting this home wouldn't be a great option. And the reason I can't use it as a vacation rental is because it has an HOA, and that's against the HOA rules. So we're gonna plug in $2,500 in rents. The way I was able to determine these rents is I was able to look at other comparables that have 6 bedrooms that are higher end and where the market kind of taps out. There's just nothing that's really renting month to month at that high of rents or higher. Now, you could have a multi-million-dollar house that you could list, and maybe you find the perfect person to rent it, but in my particular market, any of those people are usually just buying. They're not renting, and that's why it's really hard to pull anything above $2,500, and I think even that for this home might be a little bit difficult to pull off, but we're gonna plug it anyways. So you put $2,500 per month in rents, you've got vacancy of 6%, maintenance of 12%, management of 6%, insurance at, insurance on this house is actually a little bit more, so we're gonna do $2,500, and taxes on this property are gonna end up being close to $5,000 because I'm no longer going to get the homeowner exemption, which is something you need to keep in mind when going through these numbers. So when you click run the numbers, you can see my cash flow on this property would be negative. This is the big mistake that a lot of people make, is they say, oh, I've owned this home forever. I've got a ton of equity in it. It could sell for $800,000 now. I've got a loan. I only purchased it for $400,000. I should be able to absolutely crush it as a rental property, and you would be extremely wrong. So turning this into a rental property, you could be losing $3,000 every single month, taking on the risk of renters, taking on the hassle of using it as a rental to hold on. The only potential upside is if it continues to go up in value, which this particular property has gone up in value a lot, but then again, you've got the stress of it going down in value because maybe you've got tenants that trash it. So when you look at the cash flow, the cash on cash return of negative 3%, cash flow of negative $3,500 per year. This is a property where immediately it was a very, very easy, I'm not going to use this as a rental, I'm going to sell it, because I could either lose money every month trying to make it a rental, or I could pull out $400,000 plus in tax-free money to use in a good rental property where the numbers will actually work. So I hope this video is extremely beneficial to you if you're going through this determination. Now, these numbers aren't always going to be the way that it pans out, but more times than not, when people come to me and they say, Chandler, I've got my home and I can't decide whether I should sell it or rent it because I'm moving into a new home, we run the numbers and they're like, man, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever to rent the property because I wouldn't be making any money, and if I sell it, I can cash out big, even if I sell it at a discount, which hopefully I find a way not to sell my home at a discount. So once again, if you're interested in buying a home here in Idaho Falls, Idaho, go check out that other video. I'm willing to accept crazy offers, or at least semi-crazy offers, and hopefully somebody out there will buy my house. And when they do, it's going to be a much better decision than renting it. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell. I'm gonna look forward to seeing you in the future videos. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.